Welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Safety Systems. When it comes to security systems for your home or your business, call VFL JJ Surlis and the team at Safety Systems. I promise you they will have a better plan for you that's better than a better plan for you than what the national chains offer. Guarantee you that. And they've been leading the East Tennessee market for more than 20 years. SafetySystems.com. Okay, we're talking about Rick Barnes. I interrupted you. Before you go with this, let me just say one guy who isn't bothered by the tournament losses, and I agree with him. Danny White, athletic director Danny White, gave Rick Barnes a one-year extension, gave him a slight bump for that last year, which is going to take him to $6 million a year, which the people who like having a good program with players they can pull for, who don't get in trouble, you don't have to worry, like Memphis today, getting a letter of allegations, hitting Penny Hardaway specifically for his involvement. You don't have to worry about that stuff. The people who appreciate that and competing for titles and just having, I want to go to the arena and 25 out of 27 times I want to be happy this year. You won't have that many home games, but you get the point. Those people, good with the Rays. The people who live and die with the tournament, outraged by the Rays. I'm good with the Rays because
I'm good with the Rays.
When the Patriots went 18-1, Bob, you came over to make sure I hadn't hanged myself after that Super Bowl. And I told you, it's like, how mad can I be? I watched my team play 19 games this year. 18 times I'm happy. Yeah, wanted the Super Bowl, but you can't complain when you win 18 out of 19. And that's the way I look at it. I think most people look at it that way. But Danny White isn't bothered by this. Now, if you can, pick up where I interrupted last.
It was either a cookie recipe or you were talking about Tennessee's flaws.
Yeah.
I think every team that goes to the NCAA tournament, almost without exception, has flaws. I remember the Virginia team a couple of years ago was maybe as complete a team as you've seen. So I don't think that explains Barnes' problem.
That's fair.
Because every team gets there with flaws. You know, you're getting beat if you had lost to who's left number one seed, Kansas. If you had lost to Kansas this year, that's one thing. But, I mean, getting beat by the lower seed, that shouldn't expose your flaws. So I think it goes to something else. I personally think it's 50% bad luck some years. And then, like this past week, it's a coaching.
Well, you get into the coaching part of it. Coaching is how do we cover up our flaws and how do we accentuate our strengths. And I don't think Tennessee has done that a ton in the tournaments. You know, the shooting thing, it's whatever. They're all good looks. You don't go 1 for 18 or whatever they were. But I don't know. I really don't have any theories. I'm good with the Rays as well.
Arkansas couldn't hit a 2-foot shot last night against Duke.
Well, Vince, you were going to say something.
I was just going to say, it comes down to whether you think this will ever change. Danny White thinks that it can change, and they can win a championship with Rick Barnes. That's why I gave him the raise and the extension.
Does he, or is he just happy with what it is?
Well, it could be both. But the fans that are outraged by that contract extension and raise and another disappointment in the tournament, they feel like, well, this will never happen with Rick Barnes. He's a choke artist in the postseason, and let's fire him and bring back Bruce Pearl or whoever.
So who also lost in the second round this year.
I will say, on the subject of the Rays, you know, people can complain and cry and all that stuff, and then next December they're going to have a full Thompson Bowling Arena again, and they're going to probably win 25 games again, and then we'll see in the tournament. So that kind of stuff.
Those are all factors in the race.
Yeah, exactly. People, that's what I'm saying. That people can complain, but ultimately it does come down to people are happy about the state of the program.
He's putting butts in seats.
Yeah,
right.
That's dollars. That raise, it's already paid for. It's paid for by people going in there and filling the seats. UT's not losing money on that deal. Let me give you another bizarro. I don't know that this is even a theory, really. Could it be? You look at some of these coaches who are always there. I mean, Mike Krzyzewski has teams that are flawed, but even when they are. I mean, Tennessee was squawking 2 weeks ago, how can we be behind them? Well, now they're in the Final Four.
That's a good point.
I mean,
Jay Wright's always there.
Jay Wright's always there. Tom Izzo's always around. There's been, some of these programs. Kelvin Sampson keeps going there.
Let's not even
getting
bring up
to the verge of there.
Jim Larrañaga now.
Yes,
knocking on the door.
Here's my core on the verge of two. Is Barnes, simply because he's so good, he's always in the tournament, maybe he's not a bad tournament coach. Maybe he's just an average tournament coach. He's 500. It's just he's so good that he's compared to other guys who are always in the tournament, and those guys just happen to be great. I don't know if that's even a theory. That may not. I don't think that makes it.
No, I think it makes a lot of sense.
But you get what I'm getting. I mean, he's hurt by the fact he's always there. If he were a guy who made it for 2 years, then didn't make it for 2 years. If he had 15 trips instead of 26 trips, we're not freaking out over this.
I don't think so, because I think you can compare it to Mark Few and Gonzaga, 5 years ago, where they kept hitting the glass and they could not beat like the great teams. They weren't getting undercut by double-digit seeds all the time, and that I think is the big difference. Because if Tennessee was getting to the Sweet 16 and the Elite Eight, and they were running into number 1 seeds and losing to Kansas and losing to Duke, people be frustrated, but it's just like, just keep on going biting at the apple. But when you have these things where you're not playing up to your potential in the tournament every single year, then I think you're having a different conversation.
Becomes a thing.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Do we think, I mean, he brought it up a couple times himself after the Michigan game, the fact that he'd been to a Final Four. I'm going to ask this question. I don't see there's any way that the answer is no. Do we think he feels the tournament monkey on his back?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's not watching the show, but somebody who knows him is watching the show and is going to tell him what we're discussing. And he knows what's on the radio, what people are calling in.
Yeah.
He knows what's on the message boards. He's got to feel it, doesn't he? He wants to win. He wants his players to
If
win.
you'll remember, we discussed Johnny Majors not coaching as well against Alabama, Phil Fulmer not coaching as well against Florida.
And his teams
Bigger
get tight.
picture. Yeah, and his teams get tight because of it.
That's a common thing. You mentioned Coach K and some of those guys. They're in programs that expect to do it. I don't know that Barnes has been in a program yet where the players expect to come through and win those games. That's on the coach at the end of the day, but I think that is there's something to be said for that, having that expectation of winning in March.
All right. Very good. When we come back, let's talk about spring practice. We got more basketball, we got football, all right, spring practice. Observations from the opening week over at UT Spring Practice, plus the one guy who most needs to step up for Tennessee this spring. Come on back.